This is a matchup for the fans because not a lot of people have been able to keep Makhachev off the top of him. He's been able to take him down and just keep him there like a blanket, like a heavy weighted blanket. When it comes to Olivera, you're not going to really be able to do that. He might be able to keep him there, but he's going to be on defense the whole time. So I think that we're going to see a lot of mixture. We're going to see a mixed martial arts fight now, when you're going to see groundwork and stand up equally. And I think that what I really like about it is you're going to see somebody test the stand up of Makhachev. Probably have to go with Makhachev on that one, just because I think that he's got the best option to also win a decision. And the reason I say that is if they're fighting on the feet and then Makhachev gets a takedown, he can ride him out. If he can stay out of the submission threats of Olivera, he can still win a decision by riding the top, staying safe, ground and pound. So he can, if it's, let's say it's even on the feet, Makhachev takes him down and stays out of submissions, that gives Makhachev all the control, which could essentially win him the decision. So I think he has a better option for winning a decision or getting a finish, whereas Olivera mostly has the better odds for getting a finish.
It's just hard for me not to see Makhachev manifest that dream that Khabib's dad had for him, Khabib has for him. I feel like as far as the whole Muslim nation, the support he has behind him, the lifelong dream, it's hard not to see that become realized. So in my eyes, I feel like regardless of matchup, regardless of anything, desire sometimes trumps any matchup, trumps any skill set, trumps anything. And I feel like the desire in Islam was probably just going to be too great, and it's in his home, I don't want to say his home country, but he's going to have that Muslim crowd for him.
I think he's on a 10 or an 11 fight win streak. All finishes apart from one. In fact, let's just have a quick look here. So, he beat Justin Gaethje, rear naked choke. Dustin Poirier, rear naked choke. Knocked out Michael Chandler. Decision against Tony Ferguson. Chokes out Kevin Lee with a guillotine. Jared Gordon knockout. Nick Lentz knockout. David Tamer submission anaconda. Jim Miller, rear naked choke. Christos Giagos, rear naked choke. And Clay Guida, guillotine. I mean, what a run that is. 11 fights, 10 stoppages, just unbelievable. And in my opinion, Charles Oliveira, the most exciting fighter on the UFC roster. He really is, because he almost gets finished in a lot of them, and he's got to be careful. You know, you don't want to get caught off Islam Makhachev, because Islam Makhachev is very clinical. He doesn't make mistakes. Islam doesn't make mistakes. He's on a, I think it's a 10 fight win streak, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fight win streak. How many decisions? 1, 2, 4 decisions in there, 6 stoppages, 4 decisions. So that's, I mean, that's a tremendous win streak, but it's the way that he does them. He goes out there and he's almost perfect in his approach. When he beat Bobby Green, that was his last win in round 1, 3 minutes, 23 seconds. It was pure one-way traffic. I mean, it was absolutely clinical, the way that he took out Bobby Green. Prior to that, against Dan Hooker, I mean, come on, I challenge you to find a cleaner performance other than a one-shot knockout. I mean, he went out there against Dan Hooker, timed the double leg perfectly, sat him down on the canvas, passed the side control, stepped over, Kimura. I mean, that's perfect. This is an obvious fight. I'm not too shocked. I mean, there was some other people calling for a title fight. We know Conor McGregor was talking about fighting for the title when he comes back. He's just got back to full training. He might still even walk straight into a title fight. You never know. The man's extremely popular, but this is the one that's going down. UFC 280, Abu Dhabi. Absolutely unbelievable. And congrats to Charles. Charles Oliveira deserves this kind of success. He deserves this ability to make the big bucks that he is doing.
It's crazy that it's not a massive fight. I think it'll do good, but Islam's not really a name yet.
No.
And Charles is kind of becoming a name. It's weird that's like the best division, 35 is the best division in UFC. But yeah, that's weird. That'll be a sick fight. I'll be hyped for it. I think a lot of people will be hyped for it.
Charles Oliveira. I think Charles Oliveira gets the job done. I think Islam, not that he's not great, not that he is not highly touted, not that he is not going to be a future champion, but there should be no reason why he should ever be a favorite in that fight against Charles Oliveira. What Charles Oliveira has done in the last couple of fights, finishing everybody that he's fighting, is nothing short of amazing. The resurgence of Charles Oliveira's career from relatively unknown, somewhat up and down, can't be relied upon journeyman to now legitimate #1 lightweight on the planet has been something to behold. So put some respect on Charles Olivera's name. I think Charles Olivera goes out there, and I honestly think he finishes.
If I was Charles, you know, they could have paid me enough, but he better be getting a pretty fat ass check because, you know, why go over there?
I'm 100% confident that Islam will not dominate Charles, and that's about it.
What makes you say you're sure he won't dominate him? Obviously, that's something we've seen from him so far in his career.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. That's what I feel. The last time I stepped in there with him, you know, there's no way that it's going to be a great fight.
A lot of people underestimate Islam. They think Charles Oliveira have ground game. He don't have ground game. If you tap 8 times in UFC, how you can say you have ground game? You tap 8 times.
That's a fight that is very intriguing. I still believe.
I'm a fan of both of them. This is a fight. This is a style of somebody who is very, very well rounded. In Charles the Bronx, who can strike, who can defend, who can take somebody down, who can compete off of his back, and then it's going off of a strong base, as in what Islam is. Islam is a lot similar like Khabib, not the best striker, not the best. Could strike and could do everything, but is more dominant in the area where it comes to wrestling, and then submissions, and then the submission top game. So this is a fight that's it has to do with a very, very strong base against a guy that could mix everything and put everything together. Charles the Bronx, who is very well experienced in the UFC, who can mix things together very well. And it's an interesting fight. It really is. I consider both these guys friends, so I don't necessarily want to break that stuff down, not technically, because I don't want to be picking sides or choosing sides here. But it comes down to who is it the guy's going to commit to the game plan is the person that's going to more likely, get that hand raise at the end. So it all depends on who did the right game plan.
When I look at that fight, stylistically, as a person that thinks like, how do I think it's going to go? I think Islam will get the job done. You know what I mean? Then you talk about who would you rather fight and things like that. Look, I'm the type of guy that I'll fight anyone. I just want to fight for that belt. I want to go for that title. What's more likely for me? I'll be honest. With someone like Charles, I think he defends pretty quickly. Along the lines, I want to get back in. I'm actually thinking, believe it or not, I'm thinking of, because I'm still training, of being, if they need a backup fighter. So I'm looking at it strategy-wise. What do I think is the tougher fight? They're both big challenges. Obviously, you look at Charles, when you look at him as a dangerous, obviously, striking power, he can get the finish and his dangerous submission. Then you've got someone like Islam, who is one, I respect him as one of the, right now, like him and Khabib, where they're grappling and wrestling, that's why I feel like he gets the job done.